Welcome back to the podcast of Heal Without Harm. My name is Dr. Clayton Dir, physical therapist and the one bringing you the truth about the medical system. Today we've got a special guest. Her name is Anna Woods, and we're going to hit three main topics. We're going to talk about adaptive athletes and how to modify things as needed for strength training with the adaptive athlete. We're going to talk about women, middle-aged women, and strength training primarily, and just before we actually talked about setting an example for your kids, so we'll touch on that a little bit. And then we'll finish out with youth sports and training and a lot of the problems that I commonly see and how Anna ultimately approaches these people to train better, train smarter, and reduce injury. Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I'm very excited to get into these topics because I think you bring a lot of real life experience working with people that I work with as well, but you come at a different angle. And so I'm hoping a different perspective and a different voice will help reinforce some of the things that I've said. And I know I will also learn quite a bit from you. For those who don't know you, who is Anna Woods and what is She Strength ultimately like all about? I know you wanted to be introed as Anna Woods, wife, mom, and coach.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot more to it. So
yeah, that's the balance I try to keep. Wife, mom, and then coach after that, which is extremely hard to do. But yeah, what is She Strength? I feel like She Strength started in my barn gym way back in the days. My kids were little. I was still competing in weightlifting and CrossFit and triathlons and still wanted to be known as an athlete, but needed to be a mom and wife too. And so back then there weren't apps, there weren't online training. I remember I would randomly show things on Facebook or post and people would be like, show me how to do that. What are you doing? And it kind of grew from there. I used to send out like YouTube videos and then YouTube playlists, and then that evolved into an app and then having classes at my barn. You think people aren't going to drive out here and do this, but it eventually turned into that for a long time. And that's kind of where She Strength started and has grown into. And like I was telling you, I think it empowers the idea of you don't have to have a fancy gym and you don't need an hour of time and you don't need this elaborate program to get 20 minutes of something in, because something's better than nothing and it doesn't have to look pretty and it doesn't have to be put together. But if you have access to some dumbbells and a space in your barn or house, you can get it done. And I think early on, that was the main point I wanted to get across, that you could still be consistent working out at home and trying to change the name of what fitness looked like for so many women for so long before that. And so I wanted to lead by example and empower the concept of having She Strength. So
where did the name come from? I like it.
Funny story. So originally my name was going to be She Beast, and I launched my name, put all my products, ordered my gear, launched my app, and I got a cease and desist letter within 24 hours. Somebody has the name Beast trademarked.
Wow.
And they told me I had to take it down, and I lost a lot of money because I had put everything out there. I'd done my website, done all my logos, shirts, had a grand opening. And so I remember I went online in tears that evening because I didn't know what to do. Like at that point, I was ready to just throw in the hat. This isn't what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, 24 hours later, I'm
yes,
like, I'm out.
I was. It was crazy. Looking back now, it's funny, but I asked the public for help. I'm like, you guys are my friends. You're the people that have followed my journey. Like, what should I do? And people just started spewing out name ideas and concepts. And we voted, and She Strength was like the next name. I had to change all my colors. I had to change the graphics, complete overhaul. But yeah,
that was the ultimate test. Are you really in this?
I know it was. It was like, oh, maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing.
So you're saying the word Beast is trademarked?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like
another fitness company has that name trademarked, and I did not do my research well. I learned a really good business lesson very early on.
Yeah, some you get taught, some you learn.
Right.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. So someone actually helped me come up with that name, and then the public voted on it, and
that's cool.
That's where it came from.
Let's get into the adaptive athlete. What would you define as like an adaptive athlete? Because I think people don't ultimately know. And so what is that? And then how did you kind of ultimately get into it?
Right. So we adopted my son at 2. He had Down syndrome. And that obviously then is when fitness for adaptive needs became a personal project. But before that, I had been working in retirement community. I had developed a strength training program for a retirement community to help reduce falls in their retirement community. This was right out of my degree, right out of high school. I always had a heart and passion for special pops.
Yeah.
And through my work there and the reduction of fall rates, I worked with PTs, OTs, and the rehab care staff. And like they were seeing such huge changes in the staff need to transfer, like their decrease in needing to transfer patients and the reduction of falls. So one of the OTs there was like, hey, I have a sister with Down syndrome. Would you please help her do the same thing? Because she's obese, she's on a lot of medications, and she's at risk for needing to move into a retirement community at age 30. And so I started working with her. She lost 85 pounds the first year, was able to reduce all of her meds, reduce her staff, and continue to live on her own. And so from there, that whole concept kind of started for me. She was very well spoken, and she taught me so much. She's also the reason we actually ended up adopting a child with special needs. I always owe everything to her for the start of this. But she would tell me, like, I do that in physical therapy. I don't want to do that in fitness. Or don't talk to me like my physical therapist does, you know? And I was always like, what does that mean? And finally, I got to understanding for 20 years, she had done PT and OT and therapy, and she didn't want to do that again. But her vision of fitness and her only exposure to fitness was clinical. And so when we went to the Y, she didn't want to do clinical exercises, you know? And that was a really big turning point for me, that I needed to figure out how to make adaptive fitness not clinical and separate the two, because I wanted them to, once they were done with PT and once they didn't receive services anymore, they needed to be able to shift into lifelong fitness and figure out what that looked like for them. And so that was kind of the start of adaptive fitness for me. And in terms of, you know, what that looks like, like I was telling you before we started, I use the same programming for my adaptive clients that I use for my D1 commits, but the only thing I change is the ability to cue it, modify it, and communicate it. And that's it.
Which you already do for everybody.
Right.
Right. The way I look at it, right? You have to adapt to anybody that's in front of you.
And so any sort of adaptation that maybe requires assistive help, or I got to modify to a wheelchair, I've got to modify a hand grip and use hooks instead. That's the difference. So I'm always really hesitant when I hashtag adaptive fitness, because I want people to really, truly not be able to tell. Because like you said, every single person I work with, they're like, I want to do what everyone else is doing, especially in a group class.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to look different, you know? And again, their whole experience in school and therapies has been, well, you're going to do this and they're going to do this, or you can't do this, or you're not in this class, it's performance-based, or, you know, and I wanted to blend that gap. And want people not be able to see the difference. So
I'm curious, timeline-wise, and I'll connect this back, but where was your experience with adaptive athletes and kind of what you just spoke about, timeline-wise, compared to like CrossFit? Did you do one before the other, or were they kind of together?
I did adaptive fitness before that.
Okay.
Because I started adaptive fitness in 2007. As most of the clients I've been working with have been since then.
Okay.
And then I didn't really get into CrossFit hardcore till like 2011, 2012.
Okay. I ask because one thing that I think CrossFit has its own like perspective that people have on it, but I really enjoyed it because of the ability for the coaches, at least at Compelled Fitness, to scale.
Yeah.
It's like someone comes in of any size, shape, and strength and ability, and they're like, all right, we're going to, you know, muscle ups here. And it's like, if you can't do muscle ups, do this. If you can't do that, do this.
Right.
And they'll regress it all the way down. To where it's like everybody still is doing the same workout. You're doing ring rows, I'm doing muscle ups, that guy's doing strict pull ups, and it's like around the chain.
And you're still getting the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like the principles that I like very quickly took from that, I was like, I wish more people who are not D1 athletes would give CrossFit a chance.
Agreed.
Because it's like they have something for everybody. And nobody looks at you any different. Everybody still fist bumps at the end, being like, yeah, that kicked my ass too.
Right.
You know, and I was like, this is nice. And the other thing too, I was going to ask what your perspective is between clinical movements and just like exercise. And I've got my own preconceived notion, but at the end of the day, like you said, you're going to use the same principles with the D1 athlete as to an adaptive athlete. And I think any physical therapist or chiro should use the same principles with a patient that you would with a client, because we're all working off the same body.
Yeah.
The same principles of strength training. It's just where on the spectrum or where on the timeline are you? Are you going from painful to pain-free? Are you going
Yeah.
from pain-free to performing?
Right.
Are you going from all the way to the bottom to all the way to the top?
Yeah.
You know, when do I stop and when do you take over? Do we
Mhm.
work alongside? Like, we're all using the same ladder
Right.
at the end of the day.
Right.
So I am curious, though. I do want to roll back. What do you think, at least maybe in her perspective, is the difference between a clinical movement, like a PT type exercise, versus
Mhm.
what you ended up giving her that made her more happy
Yeah.
to do?
So, backstory, she has Down syndrome. So her perspective is very blunt.
I love it. Yeah.
And so she'd be like, don't make me ride a recumbent bike for 10 minutes to warm up. Don't make me do 3 sets of 10 band exercises.
Yeah.
Don't make me do 3 sets of 10 straight leg raises. And don't make me do that every single session for 8 weeks.
That's like those are my most popular TikToks, is ragging on PT.
Yes.
Those are the exact things that I list out.
I know. And then that was it. That was her only exposure. And then shoulder raises and sidestep and walk on a treadmill. See you later.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to do any of those. She wouldn't even touch a bike or touch a band, which was fine because it challenged me early on. Like, there's a whole lot more to fitness than this.
Yeah.
So we would do dance warm-up. I mean, her and I would break it down to the Cupid Shuffle and the Cha-Cha Slide for her warm-ups every day. Then we'd go do a couple things with machines because people with Down syndrome are hyperlaxed anyway.
Yeah.
So I actually don't do stretching and don't do mobility work with them. We're actually trying to put stiffness back in.
Yep.
So I actually use machines a lot with my folks with Down syndrome because they reduce the range of motion. We can push more force through more load, and I don't have to worry about dislocating a joint because it's extremely common. Yes.
Sure.
And then we go play racquetball for 15, 20 minutes, and she would beat me every time. Like, legit beat me.
That's awesome.
She would cheat sometimes, but or she would love to hit me in the back with the ball because, you know, it's just funny. But
yeah.
And so I just started exposing her to step aerobics. We did CrossFit. She learned how to do cleans with a barbell, ring rows, hanging from a bar, just more challenging, more functional, and full spectrum. Jazzercise. We did everything. We did water aerobics. We would do different things like triathlon in the water, where we would get on the bike, then go swim, then go run and do a mini triathlon. You know, I just exposed her and everyone to the full spectrum of fitness, not just 3 sets of 10 and a bike. And
I think this will be a great roll-in because I think what you gave her, and I've seen this with my clients, and I've seen this with other trainers, and you see this like shift in the client's overall emotion, is you give that person permission to do something that they thought they weren't worthy of.
Right.
Generally, it's picking up a heavy weight as opposed to a light weight.
Yeah.
But maybe in her example, picking up a weight at all.
Right.
Right. And because people feel like they're put into a box when all they get is PT and they're not worthy of stepping into the weight room or getting onto the machines. And when you start exposing them to that, they're like, oh, wow, I can do this?
Yeah.
So you never needed permission in the first place if you want to get like personal development-y.
Right.
But people do.
Right. Or they're scared. I feel like, again, so many people with special needs for their entire life are babied.
Yes.
And I speak on this all the time because I feel like we adopted my son. Therefore, I don't have the guilt and shame that comes with birthing a child with special needs that I hear a lot from other moms because they feel responsible
almost
for
like
the diagnosis.
The kid or something?
Yes. Well, or they caused it, you know, when in reality that is most times not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I have a different perspective because I refuse to teach my son, coach my son, or put expectations on my son that are limiting because he has Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I expect more from him.
Yeah.
And so I think so many people go in afraid to hurt a client with special needs when in reality, they're 100 times more resilient than your everyday client.
Yeah.
I have some clients, I have a 10-year-old that's probably had 30 surgeries already in his first 10 years of life. You want to tell me how tough he is? I don't hold him back at all because that kid is tough.
Yeah.
And now he walks with a walker now, and he can walk on a treadmill, and we lift barbells, and man, I don't hold anything back from him. Yeah. And I think it's kind of what you said with giving him permission, but also showing him he can do those things, and I expect him to do those things, not be afraid and fragile.
Yeah.
And I got to move them from, and the parents or caretakers from the mindset that we're going to break them, because we're not.
And this is the way to actually prevent being broken. In the future.
Yes. And they can be independent. And I want him to be able to go to a gym by himself and be like, yeah, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm in a wheelchair or walker doesn't mean I am breakable or less than, or don't feel sorry for me, and don't treat me like I have a disability and I'm going to get hurt easily.
Yeah, because people feel that when they're
they're scared. They're scared. I hear that all the time. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt them. Oh, trust me, you're not going to hurt them. They can do a lot, and they've been through a lot.
Yeah, and if you teach that person like you teach everybody else, here's how to pick up the barbell.
Yeah,
here's how not to.
Right.
By the way, because this could hurt you.
Right.
Or going too much weight too fast. Like teach them the same principles.
Right.
And then let that person learn just like every other person.
Or provide the modifications to a safe way of picking it up,
Because I found with some people, I've not worked much with special needs, but even just someone who's like timid or unsure, it's like, hey, go ahead and just pick up this kettlebell for me.
Right.
That's probably somewhat clearly too much weight, and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And when they go to lift it and they're like, I can't do that. Why?
Yeah.
Like, is it because your grip strength? Is it because this? Is it because of this? So then you know exactly what to modify, but you at least expose them to like, here's where we're going to get.
Right.
Whether it's 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, or 2 years from now, here's the spectrum that we're going to go. And then briefing them on like, here's where I would like you to go based off the goals you told me. Here's where you are now. Here's how we're going to modify, but here's what else we're going to do after this exercise to work on the weak link that you have limiting you from doing the full movement or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, my experience trying to like open someone's eyes to strength training has generally been around middle-aged women who are trying to either change their body, they're trying to get rid of pain, they've heard podcasts about building strength, building muscle and all that kind of stuff, and handing them a dumbbell or a kettlebell specifically and say, can you deadlift this 5 times? They pick it up, set it down, and I say, how much weight do you think that is? 20, 30 pounds? It's like, that's a 70-pound kettlebell.
Right.
And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And so what is your experience working with females in middle age that are maybe going through menopause, like getting into it, they're finishing up with it? And what have you seen? I'm trying to figure out how I want to shape this question. Let's say they're still new to weightlifting. What have you seen as like some of the biggest roadblocks they may see when stepping into the weight room, whether they've put them on themselves, they've learned it over time from society?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of those challenges that they're running into when they come?
Afraid to lift heavy. Everybody goes and grabs the 4-pound dumbbells. We actually took anything under 8 pounds out of our weight room for that reason, for our women's classes.
Yeah. Because they're like hidden in the back.
I'm like, your toddler weighs 45 pounds. You're going to be
That's my
fine.
favorite. When they show like the 4-year-old in the arm and they're carrying the car seat in the other hand, it's like,
and a purse.
That's a 95-pound.
I've seen some really heavy Louis Vuitton purses.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. I think for me, it's kind of like we talked about, like retraining the thought process of what fitness looks like for them individually as a person. Because we see TikToks and we see everything else where you got to do an hour and you got to have a trainer and you got to be in a gym and you got to have a treadmill and you got to be in a certain outfit and you got to look a certain way for the workout to be worth your time or be effective.
Yeah.
And, I feel like we make headway on that and then we got to take 10 steps back and revisit it again. And I think a lot of people are overwhelmed by the amount of information that's out there too. So much so that they just don't do anything because it freezes them to like, it's too much. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I'm scared. And so I feel like for us, we try to cookie crumb our own personal experiences and our own personal journeys. Like I'm very much a lead by example mentality. So I'm just going to show you what I look like. And I think I posted a video this morning. I was in like 3 pair of pants, 3 hoodies. I had gloves and a hat, and I was lifting a barbell yesterday. It was freezing.
Yeah.
But I had 30 minutes before my kids needed to get up for school. I slept in later because I was tired. And I was like, you know what? I got 25 minutes. I'm going to do a 3 movement EMOM, get my heart rate up a little bit, get sweat done. And that might be all I get done today. But I put a check mark on my health deposit for today, and I'll get back at it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm late, I can't go to the gym, it's too cold outside. I could have had a lot of excuses as to why I didn't do it. But I try to set myself up to be as consistent as I can with as little or as much time as I get to do it every day. And I think that's the same thing we fight with all of our clients, is trying to prove consistency over anything else. I always tell women, I'm like, you got a lifetime to get this right. There is no rules. I get frustrated with the 75 hard, the 21-day challenges. Like, we have a thing that I post at my gym all the time. I'm like, how about let's try to be 365 consistent instead of 75 hard. And I posted that a few years ago and it went viral. I had so many people asking me if they could print it on shirts, and but it's
You're like,
such
no,
a
trademark.
I'm like, I should have.
Yeah.
It's just such a simple thought process that's mind blowing to so many people. But it's not going to be easy. You're not going to feel motivated every day. It's all the same things you hear. So then I talk to women all the time about, like, if you have 20 minutes to get a workout in, going for a 15-minute jog's probably not going to be the best bang for your buck. In terms of building muscle, at this point in life, that needs to be your number one priority, building and maintaining muscle. Therefore, hit a strength training workout. You're going to burn calories through that workout, and you're going to burn calories for the next 8 hours after that, as long as you're pushing more than 2-pound dumbbells. But everyone thinks cardio is the quick fix. I'm like, cardio is for heart and lungs. Strength training's for everything else. You've got to be doing it at this age. We lose 1 to 3% on muscle every 5 years over the age of 35. You throw that into taking peptides that are also going to reduce your muscle mass extremely quickly. You've got high stress, high cortisol, hormones changing. Like, it's just this beautiful mix of not fun things. You're going to have joint pain. You're going to be tired. You're going to have loss of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone is going to be reducing. And so your ability to maintain strength is going to be really hard. And so that needs to be your main focus when you do have short time, is to keep working on that and keep focusing on that.
You mentioned peptides.
GLP-1s.
That one specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about, when I hear peptides, my brain first goes to BPC.
Oh, yeah.
7.
Yeah. Now those are going to be more effective for you in terms of maintaining strength and keeping things going.
That's what I understood. Yeah. When you said they would speed up muscle mass loss.
Sorry. No, GLP-1s is what I meant specific on that.
Which, speaking on that one fact that I don't think many people know is when someone loses weight, let's say they lose 100 pounds, generally 20 to 30% of that weight's going to be muscle mass, to my understanding. And then they've done research on when people lose weight on GLP-1s, the average traditional person losing weight, it can be upwards of 70% of the weight lost is muscle mass.
We see it on our body comp scales all the time.
Where it's like they're going from malnutrition with obesity to malnutrition with, like, being underfed and actually, like, shrink. It's so bad.
We ask people in their first session, do you want to be a certain body weight and be obese but weigh 120 pounds, or do you want to weigh 140 pounds and have body composition and muscle definition to show that you do work out? And I won't lie to you, it's about 50-50 on what people choose, because they're so caught up on this nostalgic 125-pound number that they weighed in high school, that they are willing to sacrifice everything because they think that number is what's going to bring them happiness. When in reality, something about that weight, it was a happy time in their life, and everyone associates that scale number with that being the reason why. And in reality, when you dig down, kind of like you said, you do some personal development on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things that went into why that time of life was happy for them. And it wasn't just the scale weight. Yeah. But that's what we associate with that.
For sure. Why do women, because that's what we're talking about specifically, why do they need to lift heavy?
So many reasons. For hormone health, for mental health, because that's another piece of perimenopause is anxiety and depression and brain fog and all of those things. And over again, they show there's this rush from strength training. Like you said, one of my favorite things to do with women in middle age is to put them on a barbell and show them what they're capable of lifting. Like that, or do a pull-up for the first time. Like that, to me, is the biggest rush and motivator and energizer. And as a coach, the best thing you'll ever help someone learn how to do is to really, truly understand how strong they are and what they are capable of doing. Yeah. And you open their eyes to that.
Especially when they've never strength trained.
Yes.
And then you like walk them into the gym. It's like, you've done nothing to like build strength.
Right.
At least strategically.
Right.
But look where you already are. You're already on rung 4 of this 10-step ladder. Imagine if you actually focused on it.
Right.
Type of thing.
Right.
For sure.
And those are the ones that text me like, hey, did you take a picture of that? Hey, do you have video of that? Hey, do you have that number? I want to tell my husband, or I want to tell my kids, or,
I think people don't realize that a lot of the times the reason they lack confidence, whether it's visually or aesthetically or just confidence in general in their life, is because I think people don't feel like they can do as much as they want to be able to do.
Yeah.
They inside their own head, they are less capable than they want to be.
Yeah.
And when you walk into a weight room and pick up some heavy things that you didn't previously think you could,
Yeah.
and then you start looking at other people and you see like, wow, I'm actually pretty strong compared to some others.
Right.
And I really want to get as strong as that girl over there.
Yeah.
And she's been doing it a while and stuff. Then you walk out of the gym and your chest is puffed. You're standing a little bit taller and you're like, this is, I feel a lot better.
Right.
That carries over into so many things. And that's my favorite thing ultimately is, and I know you've experienced this countless times. It's like, yes, you may look different, you may fit in your pants different, you may have a different number on the scale, but ultimately you walk different.
Right.
Because of like how you feel about yourself.
Right.
Speaking of aesthetics, I want you to step right up onto a soapbox and tell me what you think about toning when a gal says, I want to tone.
I just ignore it and still train them like strength training. I've learned if people have a vision. So one thing I used to do is I say, when you want to be toned, bring me a picture of what you mean by toned. Like, who do you want to look like? Bring that in and show me. And it's always somebody that's got true muscle definition.
Yeah.
And then I educate
They've
them.
got
Like,
shape
I'm like,
to their muscle.
do you think that they're doing an hour of cardio every day, eating 1,000 calories, not sleeping well, and lifting 8-pound dumbbells? Like, do you think that's what they're doing to get there? And some people genuinely don't know.
Yeah. It's
and I just try to educate, like, no, this is what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's kind of that understanding of like, oh, and so I try to meet them where they're at, meet the verbiage of where they're at. If they want to call it toned, I really don't care. You can call it whatever you want, but this is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we even call in our Pilates classes tone and sculpt because it's marketing, it's PR, you got to run a business.
Yeah.
But we educate on how you get toned. Tone to me is still having definition and looking like you work out.
Yeah.
And so then we get a chance to educate on that. And, maybe because probably early on in my career, I probably would have really fought that and been like, no, but as you get into it more, and maybe just because I've been doing it long enough and the age that I am, I just don't fight those things anymore. And I just use it as an opportunity to educate.
That's fair. If someone came to you, let's say 45-year-old female, and they're wanting to look like somebody, they bring the image and they said, I'll do whatever you think is best. I've got as much time as needed. Like I still have, a job and a family, but as much time as needed. They're going to naturally like whatever you suggest. Cause I know like some people just don't want to lift weights.
Right.
Like they're just like, like I'll do whatever's necessary. But this person's like, I'll do whatever you'd like. They have 5 days a week or 5 training sessions a week. What would you think is the best setup, split? What should they focus on? I don't need straight up breakdown of 4 reps of this,
Yeah.
But how many strength training sessions? What kind of body parts? How many cardio?
Yeah.
What's your jam on like a 5-day?
So our typical approach for anybody that I work with is we do an assessment. We get a really customized view of what's going on. We repattern breathing. We use some somatic stuff to bring down breathing patterns, to bring down stress. Then we focus on core. You've got to understand how to diaphragmatically breathe and stabilize to create mobility in your joints. Then from there, we're going to do a neurological warm-up to get those movement patterns in place, because we want the movements that you do outside of the gym to be the most important thing that you're doing. Therefore, that's going to translate into how we strengthen your patterns inside the gym. But typically we do 3 days a week of strength training, 30 minutes, hitting on 1 or 2 main body parts with a few accessory lifts. And then outside of that, I encourage them to get out and walk, ruck, something outdoors. There's something about being outside that's just healthy and renewing. Usually they have a dog or kids, so that makes it an easy lead in. Be like, go out and walk with your husband or your spouse, take your dog for a walk, whatever that is. We try to make it as much about their general pattern of life already to not make it harder.
Yeah.
If you're at the ballpark and your kids are practicing, go walk around the trail. And so for the most part, we try to push 3 days a week strength training if you can't get anything else done. You're going to see as good of results as that as 5 days a week in most studies. Two is going to be a little less. 3, ideal. Try to get 3. 30 to 40-minute sessions a weekend, with strength training being the main priority. And that's our big thing in terms of in the gym approach to what we're doing.
Where do you feel like cardio fits into this? Do you work much directly with that?
We put it into our programming, yes.
As part of those 330s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically, it's some sort of movement circuit at the end. It depends on what we're doing. We're trying to work different energy systems each time. We do some sort of zone 2 stuff. I usually send that home with them. Do that on your own time. In the gym, we usually try to hit one high intensity day where you're getting your heart rate up pretty high, bringing it back down, recover, heart rate up again, just because you need that hormone boost, that GH production of getting your heart rate up and really getting into a workout, get those endorphins.
Yeah.
And then we do a mid-range cardio also, and typically like EMOM or something with some kettlebells.
What's your take? This will be the last thing on women, and then I want to move into youth sports. What's your take on osteoporosis in regards of like what people should do to try to offset that coming on ultimately?
Yeah, strength training for sure. You need to be eating good, protein. Those are typically the two biggies that I see that people are not doing. And then having a patience, like expectations for changing bone density takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
You need to start way before coming in at 70 and telling me you had x-rays and it's bad.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've even
best case scenario, you should have been in here 10 years ago, but we can still make changes. You know, we do farmers carries, heavy loading, CNS work to try to load safely and effectively. Honestly, in my experience, some of the medications they get put on cause so many side effects and bone pain. Nobody wants to do anything.
I know it kills me.
And that is a hard one.
And what sucks is like, that's the first line of defense.
I know.
That's what kills me is in general, most doctors like, oh, it's like and this is where I would say it's a systemic issue. It's not a doctor issue. It's a system issue. But
no, I agree.
It's, oh, your bone density is getting low. Well, you are 50 and female and yada, yada. And so go ahead and just start doing, it's either a shot or a pill once a week, whatever it is. And it's like, you realize that actually makes more brittle bones. Like, it does dense them, but it makes more brittle. And then what all side effects are you doing? And there's not a lick of conversation on like, are you strength training? Are you impacting your bones at all?
Right.
We had 1 gallon
What supplements are you taking?
Yes. Yeah. We had 1 gallon here at 58, started having knee pain. Started strength training, ended up really liking powerlifting. First powerlifting meet, I think, was at 62. Came in here for knee and hip pain, blah, 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 blah. Ended up going back to one of our orthos at some point in time. They redid the bone scan and they're like, we've never seen somebody's bone density improve, let alone this much.
That's
what
awesome.
are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm powerlifting.
Right.
And it's like, shouldn't you be the one
was that enough? Yes.
Like,
hopefully that was enough for them to change their minds.
That this girl did all this on her own. And it's like, you were the one. Right. Like, you were the touch point that is supposed to like help steer the ship around.
Yeah.
To like build this bone density back. And I was like, this is so eye-opening yet frustrating, ultimately.
But like I said, it requires effort. It requires patience. And we're in such a quick fix mentality. I think many doctors get tired of arguing the long game. I get it.
I think this goes back to like motivational interviewing in a way, though.
Yeah.
Because you talk about, you don't want to enable the person with special needs or enable the fill in the blank. And I think so many doctors, probably, like you said, with repetition of people who are actually asking for the quick fix only, lack their ability, the want, or they're just overran to say like, hey, here's what we're seeing. Do you want to actually help fix this and go naturally, or do you just want a pill?
Right.
And I think questions like that would be so helpful because you'd immediately put people into one bucket or the other. Like, no, just give me a pill. It's like, okay. Or it's like, I really want to know why this is taking place.
Yeah.
And that doctor may not have the answer.
Right.
But hopefully they have a network of people like you and me. Like, okay, you do want to like solve this once and for all, not get this injection. There is a natural way to work on this. Go load the tendon and it'll help with the tendonitis. Yes. Go get dry needling. Go strength training in general.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people who come and see me with like 2 or 3 areas of pain, knee, hip, and shoulder, like literally if they just came and trained with you for 3 months, followed it, everything, came back to me, they'd be like, my shoulder still hurts 50%, but everything else got better. It's like, yeah, because you generally got stronger.
Yes.
Like that will fix most issues ultimately.
No, I agree.
So
I agree. It's a uphill battle. Well, and the other thing we run into, like, because I have a gym in Hutch, so we have a lot of low income. And so immediately after the recommendations of PT or us, they're like, if insurance won't pay, I can't go. And that's the hard part with preventive health. Like our gym's been approved through TrueMed for HSA, FSA to cover some training sessions and stuff. But that's also the battle. Like I work a lot with a lot of practitioners in our area and they're like, our biggest struggle is people can't afford it. And so then trying to fill that gap of providing options that are at a lower base pay for people that are not motivated to do it on their own. And that's a hard one too, because we got to run a business at the end of the day also, but how do
you can't help if the business doesn't stay alive.
Right. How do you fill that gap? And that's a big one for me because I always, like, my heart bleeds for that because I never want money to be a reason why somebody can't get help, so trying to blend those pieces as well. And in our location, that's the biggest thing that I hear.
For sure.
Is where they can get 8 sessions of PT and then insurance doesn't cover after that. And then you can only do so much in 8 sessions and then they've got to figure out what to do on their own. And a lot of people are in that situation because they don't have accountability or self-discipline to do it on their own.
It does feel like momentum
and
or spiral goes one way or the other.
Yes.
Type of thing. I see those associated as well.
Yeah.
Let's get into youth sports.
Yep. Most
of the kids that I see under 18 that come in with some sort of pain have a similar background of they played the same sport all 12 months out of the year. They either don't strength train or they strength train on top of everything else. And I asked them the question, name one day of the week that you aren't doing some sort of like hard physical activity and they can't. Right. They've got lessons, practice, training, games, and more. And then I see some other things around their diet. And most of the time I think if they just followed probably basic level knowledge that you would provide, they probably wouldn't be
big difference,
especially because the kid's body. I remember one time when we were over Optimal Performance, trainer would bring a kid over. Hey, this kid's hip started hurting 2 days ago, and I said, "Cool." In 2 days, if it's still bothering me, come back.
Yeah,
because they would just stop hurting.
Right.
But unfortunately, with some of the patterns that I've seen that lands them all the way in my office, there's preventable things. And so, what are some topics that you see commonly in youth sports right now that's causing more harm than good potentially?
Yeah. So the majority of mine are females. So we have when they come into my classes, usually in the afternoon after schools, I'm like, "What'd you eat today? Who drank any water today? How many energy drinks have you had?" You would be surprised because they're like, "I think I had one this morning." So those are the first conversations. Is like, if you did not eat, like I usually have stuff on hand. It's gotten so bad because, well, I had a bag of Doritos at lunch, but I wanted to go somewhere and I didn't eat, or I didn't pack a lunch, or we don't have food at home. I hear that a lot. It's well, mom hasn't gone to the grocery store yet, or there wasn't anything to grab and go, and and that's a whole nother thing in itself. But depending on the age of the kid, we try to self-advocate. Like, well, did you tell your mom you don't have snacks? Well, if you're 18, can you go to the store yourself? Protein's a big one. I think it was 2 years ago. I made all my girls track how much protein they ate every day for like 2 weeks. I had to bribe them. I can't even remember what I bribed them to do it for, but the average protein intake was 25 grams a day.
For the whole day?
Yes. Good. So I work with a nurse that works at the wound care clinic. She's a nurse practitioner in Hutch. She said the bare minimum protein intake for wound healing is 50 grams. Mm-hmm. That's what their wound care people have to be on as a minimum to begin to even see any sort of tissue healing in their wound care clinic. Yeah. Most of them are diabetic and stuff. But anyway, I use that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like...
We learned that in PT school, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're not getting properly fed, specifically protein, calories overall, like the wound simply will not heal. It's like if your body cannot literally repair tissue that's an open wound, what do you think the rest of your body is?
I know. And we talk about that. Like the high level of performance you're doing, you're constantly breaking down your muscle and tissue. Every day.
You are burning the candle harder than anybody else while not feeding it in any capacity. Like it's like you're the worst of both sides of the spectrum. Like underfed and overtrained. Both. Like you can't handle that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
So that's the biggest, because then on the same hand, they're like, "Oh, my knees hurt all the time. I'm always tired. My cycles are messed up. I'm getting slower, but they can't, some reason they can't bridge that gap that those are the two things.
Yeah. So I totally tell people, based on your body weight from the different studies I've read, I'm pretty sure if you were to look at like the 2,000 calorie labeled nutrition facts, like on a piece of food or a thing of food, I think the protein recommendations are like 33% of the diet or something like that. And it usually equates to like 30% of the diet, 30% of your body weight in grams is like, if you don't eat that, you're going to be in bad shape.
Right.
50% is like, this will probably be able to like help you stay at your muscle mass. It's not ideal, especially if you're strength training. Gold standard, like 70% of your body weight, because I say gold standard because it's like, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
But also feels achievable.
Yeah.
Right? Because someone like myself at 185, for me to eat 185 grams of protein, it takes like supplementation and
to
focus.
Get up at night.
Yes, exactly. or it's just like cottage cheese with everything. I don't know. But anyway, so that's kind of hard. So 70% is usually a great happy medium.
Right.
So take your body weight times 0.7, and that's how many grams you should eat in a day. But like I always tell people, especially going through rehab, if your body's trying to repair this tissue, just like a wound, honestly, you need, like, please never go below 70% of your body weight. Like, definitely never below 50.
Yeah.
But like, you got to be hitting 70. Otherwise, like, you're going to be in my office for 12 weeks instead of 6.
Right.
Or it's going to like chronically kind of stay here.
Yeah.
And so I fully agree with you. Calories and protein both need to be a high focus.
Yeah.
What about the training programs in particular? What are some things that you see that are going wrong or going awry?
Prioritizing skills over strength and stability over and over and over again.
Okay,
like my kids will go, so I work with a lot of softball teams, softball players. They'll do pitching for an hour and a half on Sundays and go to 2-hour practice after that. Hitting on Mondays, so school activity on Tuesdays, church on Wednesdays, pitching and hitting on Thursdays again, take off for a tournament Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's no strength training, stability, recovery.
So they should just do that on top of it?
There's zero foundation in there. No, I try to get them to trade out one skill day for us.
That's like my joke, right?
Yes.
Like they'll be like, okay, so I need a strength train as well.
Yeah.
And then they'll go and they'll add 2 or 3 days somehow on top of all of that.
Right. And we talk about like, if you don't have, you're going to always hit a glass ceiling if you don't have the foundation of torso stiffness, working through anterior pelvic tilt, working on pelvis strength and hip drive. Your coach can cue you all day long, fast hands, get your hips through, use your back leg. But if you don't have any more strength to give to that, it's worthless cues.
Yeah.
And so I have learned to try to make relationships with the skills coaches to be like, put this in their warm-ups. Like, I'll invite them to our sessions. I'm like, have them do this, this, and this. Here's 3 movements. I make YouTube videos, send it to all of them. Because if they're at least not coming to me, they will listen to their skills coach. And their skills coach can educate and start pushing back on them. So I'm like, instead of going up and doing 30 wrist flips in a horrible position while you're talking about your boyfriend today, like do 10 squats, 10 push-ups, just shoulder stability, posterior capsule stretch exercise, then go right into the next phase of your lifting or your throwing, you know? And so kind of like I do with middle-aged women, like trying to integrate it into what you're already doing so it's not an added thing.
Yeah.
And then educate and try to get skills people and coaches on board with it. Like, I've been really pushing hard the last 2 years on educating coaches instead of just having them do random band stuff that they're not paying attention to. Like, let's do these 3 things instead. Let's do bear crawling, crab walk to bear crawl, core stuff instead. Like, because then you're loading through your hand, you're getting your scap activated, you're activating your core, it's full body integrated. Yes.
Yeah.
And they have to focus or you can fall on your face. So then there's a little bit more intent with what they're doing, instead of random just snapping a band around. And so
I do enjoy that they do like J bands and stuff now.
Yes.
Because we never did that. I mean, I played baseball 2012-ish.
Yeah.
And that like wasn't a thing.
Right.
It was like you grabbed the bat, like pushed it back and like did a stretch and then you threw a little bit. And so it's better. But then again, it's like when you're given the good thing but moving without intention, it's better than not, but still not that great.
Right.
And so I like that because then they can try to like talk to their friends while they're doing crab walks and bear crawls. Because like you said, if you're not paying attention, you're in your face. So you have this natural like punishment for not giving it the weight it deserves to get you warmed up. I like that a lot.
It's learning to meet them where they're at. I always joke kids have a 15 and 30 second distraction span because that's how TikToks are. So I always joke, I'm like, we speak in TikTok reels when we coach. Like I send them videos. They're going to learn more from that than me talking to them for 30 minutes, and try to integrate as much into what they're already doing as we can because that's the only way you're going to get through. Yeah. And quit trying to fight it. You know, I'm not going to win.
Do it the way they're going to get it done, not the way you think it should be done. Type of thing.
And that's constantly evolving.
For sure. And I think that's what's exhausting for a lot of people.
Because I feel like, I don't know about you, but like the other definition we're spending a lot of time on is defining pain. Like you said, my hip pain hurt for 2 days. Tell me what the pain feels like. Because there's
the amount of, I don't know. It's like, what am I supposed to do with it?
Right. There's a pinchy pain, sharp pain, you know, dull pain. Pain because I just did squats. Like it's so much communication on pain now.
It'll be like, you know, how painful is it today? Oh, it's not bad. So it's 0?
Right.
No, it hurts. Okay. Is it like, okay, so like 0 to 10. It's like a 5. Okay. What number would I have to get to for you to go get ibuprofen?
Right.
I would have to get to at least a 6. Okay, so it's less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like
that's
you have to
good.
like keep putting in these barriers. Like, when would you reach for a pill bottle?
Yeah.
When would you take yourself out of the game?
Right. That's
when
good.
would you take yourself out of practice?
That
Like,
makes
what are
sense.
these numbers?
Yeah, I like that.
Because I don't know. Like, people will say it's in pain to get out of conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't hurt in the game.
Right.
It's like, I agree, adrenaline and all that kind of stuff, but like, you're also showing me your priorities.
Right.
So where's this at? Does it feel like something
Yeah.
dripping? Does it feel
Right.
like sharp and tingly? Like, if you had to guess what tissue
Yeah.
it is, like, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so sometimes I try to balance how much do I need to bark up this tree and
Right.
like play this game of semantics, because it does matter.
Yeah.
Or how much am I just like pissing this person?
Right.
Because I'm trying to fully understand
Right.
everything. And I think that's the benefit of being the PT versus the trainer or the
Mhm.
coach, is you have your place, I have my place
Right.
in their eyes.
Yes.
And if I can like dive deep on that one thing and get the answer that you've been trying to pull out of
Right.
them forever, but they'll actually talk to
Yeah.
me about it, then I can give that back to you. Just like
Exactly.
you're giving stuff to the skills coach.
Exactly.
That's where it's like collaborative care, whether it be
Mhm.
coaches training skills or whether it's doctor, PT,
Yeah.
you know, yada, yada, full spectrum kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you could leave parents with one bit of advice to help their youth athlete,
Mm-hmm.
what would like the first thing that you would reach for to give them? Would it be specific? Would it be broad? What do you think a parent right now of a 14-year-old male or female in sports, what do you think that parent needs to hear?
Let them struggle. We deal so much, at least at the college, with parents who have done everything for their child, never made them have to work, never have to problem solve, never have to deal with pain, never have to advocate for themselves. They always step in, and then we're having to basically handle them with tough love at the collegiate level because they don't know how to do any of those things.
They've like kicked the can all the way down to you
Yes. And it's,
at 20 years old.
yeah, hard.
Mhm.
Like, man. And I think it comes down to like tough love parenting, you know, like introduce them to the school of hard knocks a little bit. That, like, we have softened kids so much that they can't even tell if pain is pain. They don't know how to think for themselves. They don't know how to communicate to us that they have an issue or that they're hurting, whether it be a mental health issue or a physical health issue. They can't communicate that. And then they don't have the emotional maturity to handle us asking questions back. And they don't know how to call and make an appointment. They don't know how to get to the athletic training room. They don't know how to push through a little bit when it's tough in a game, or they get pulled because they're having a bad day and they don't know how to emotionally handle that. And I think as us coaches and the ATs and the mental health providers all communicate, it comes back to kids just don't have to struggle. And I get it, as a parent, you don't want to see your kids struggle and
It's
you don't
hard.
want to see them, but there is value in stepping back and being like, I'm going to let you struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you figure this out. I'm going to let you kind of like work through this. So right now, just because that has been the topic of all of our meetings at staff trainings recently, it's a resounding problem. And so I, even myself, have had to step back with my own girls a little bit. Like, I have a 19, 15, and 14-year-old and be like, 19, 16, 15, they just had their birthdays. Like, I don't know, you tell me what you think you should do in this situation, you know, or do this and this. Here's a couple options. Let me know what you decide. And then, you know, like trying to advocate a little bit in that way.
And that's a skill on your behalf too.
Yes.
I think that's what I've learned. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I just want to get this done.
I know.
I'm impatient.
Yes.
I just want to do it for you. I don't like to see you cry.
Right.
All of it. And it's like, this is just as much a parent skill as it is passing to the kid. And if you fail to develop that skill yourself and pass on to the kid, like you said, self-advocacy and like autonomy,
right?
Like, you and that kid's going to pay for it. And the kid's going to pay a lot bigger price at 20 years old trying to learn this stuff and or failing because they don't have that skill than you teaching it to them every single day at 4 years old. Because there's so many times that I'm like my daughter's like climbing on the couch. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then like a grandparent's like, oh, okay. It's like, no.
Yeah.
They're either going to listen or they're going to fall on their face and they're going to learn.
Exactly.
And there's times like my daughter like tried to jump off the porch and like skinned her face. I'm like, well, she ain't going to do it again.
Right.
I mean, it's the classic like
it is
good old
cause and
parent,
effect.
you know. Yeah. It's like some things you get taught, some things you learn.
Right.
But one way or the other that needs to take place.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. To finish out, what is your favorite junk food? to snack on.
Mm.
Don't give me the no good food, bad food. Just like Doritos, candy. Like,
Yeah.
what's your go-to jam?
Anything peanut butter chocolate. I love Reese's.
Have you tried Feastable's new peanut butter cups?
No.
I am like all for Mr. Beast. He's like trying to, he's trying to get rid of all the child labor with chocolate. And I'm like here for it.
Right.
He's like, I tried to talk to the chocolate company. He's like, you guys are really for this? He's like, they're like, it's the way it's done. Just let it be. And he's like, no. And so he's like fair trade certified chocolate, like making sure these people are getting paid a livable wage.
Okay.
And I'm like, I will support this.
Yeah.
But he came out with a new peanut butter cup, and the peanut butter inside looks like it came out of a jar. Like when you bite it, it's creamy. It's not like Reese's crumbly. Yeah. No, Reese's is still good. But when anyway, try Reese's or Feastable's
I'll have to check it
peanut
out.
butter cup. I'll get you some or something. Send it to you. It's so good.
Yeah, I can get behind that and the Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Those are probably my two go-tos.
I do my best to stay away from like store-bought ice cream because the second I buy it and realize I can just have it in my fridge, the second
super accessible.
Yes, I have to create. I need barriers.
Yes,
ultimately.
I'll just get the pint ones, and then I'll be like, all right, that's all I need. But
I get it. I totally get it. Okay, Anna, if someone wants to reach out and ask more questions, they want to come train with you, they want you to train or work with their kid or something like that, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I'm probably most active on Instagram. She Strength is my handle.
Okay, gotcha. And I'll link that down below.
I do check my messages and I do try to respond. So
okay, perfect. I'll guide everybody in a funnel towards that so they can reach out to you. And then also, we talked a little bit about this before we went on, but if you're a trainer or a coach and you've had the opportunity to work with someone who has special needs or is more of that adaptive athlete and you have no idea what to do, reach out to Anna. She can be a great resource for you. Or if you simply just feel like Anna is going to be a better fit for that person, pass them on to Anna and get them connected. And so you can reach out to her as well.
Yeah. I developed a course with the American Council of Exercise. It's called Adaptive Exercise Programming. We actually did. It's a published book and a course you can take. I have a link to that also.
That's super cool.
So that is another way that they can also learn from how I program.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate how much you go above and beyond on not just trying to like help one person, but like how can I take a step back, create something that can teach indefinitely, but also in bigger groups.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because I feel like the best teacher doesn't just teach one way; it steps back and tries to teach in whatever way is going to be most received.
Yeah.
Ultimately. We'll finish that out. Hopefully, guys, you learned a little bit more how to heal without harm. And Anna, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
We'll see you.